Hello, Crafty Crandall here. Today's video is kind of fun. I am going to be trying to draw Pokemon from memory. I started playing Pokemon at the age of 5 years old. I had Pokemon Blue version for the Game Boy Color, if you guys remember those. And it's just been like a long-standing kind of video game anime series that I kept up with from the time that I was like 5. All the way up until I was probably around 18. So I'm pretty familiar with Pokemon in general, at least like the first couple of generations. So I'm going to confine this to generations 1 and 2. So that is, I think, 251 Pokemon total. And so I'm going to try to draw 2 Pokemon from Gen 1 and 2 Pokemon from Gen 2, and then see how it goes from there. I might do a follow-up series with Gen 3. If you're interested, let me know in the comments down below. And without any further ado, let's start picking the Pokemon. So to do this, I used a random number generator from 1 to 251, and I kept pushing the random generator until I got 2 results from Gen 1, so 1 through 151, and then 2 results from 151 to 251, so that I would have the results that I needed, because there are only 100 Pokemon in Gen 2. So I went through, I did this, I got the Pokemon that I needed, and then I started sketching them in my sketchbook. For the sketching process, I used Cool Erase colored pencils in kind of like the base tone that I thought the Pokemon was, and I will leave the audio here so that you can kind of hear my thought process as I went through and drew all of the Pokemon, because I think that's kind of the really entertaining part. And then after the sketching process, I will go through the painting process, and then we will check and see how I did and see how closely my drawings match what the actual Pokemon look like. Alright, I realized that I should probably comment over some of the sketching because it's more entertaining that way. So I don't actually remember what seal looks like at all. Obviously, it's a seal. So it's gonna be, I don't know, a seal-like structure. I think it was gray, but to be honest, I'm not sure. So I mean, it's gonna have a tail, it's gonna have fins. I mean, I remember that seal was like a really derpy looking Pokemon, I think. And so I think it had like its tongue out, and that was what made it adorable. And then it evolved into Dugong, which was like a more elegant, Pokemon, like more of a manatee maybe. So this one is going to be an interesting one to start off on, honestly. I'm just going to kind of try to figure it out. I think, actually, you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that seal was actually white. But that's okay. We're gonna try this here. And yeah, so I think, so maybe if I draw his head kind of like that. Well, now it just looks like, I don't even know what. But like its body would have to come up like this. And then I'd have to erase this fin because it doesn't make any sense there. So I'd have to have this coming down. And then this fin coming down here. I feel like the face shape, I don't know how to I don't really know what seals look like. Like actual seals, like the normal seal, let alone how the Pokemon version kind of varies from that. But, I mean, that's not awful, right? Right? And how far off could it possibly be, right? I mean, it's a seal. So, yeah, we're gonna keep it kind of like that. Erase some of my bad lines. And then we gotta do its facial structure. So like I said, I think it was a really derpy kind of Pokemon. So I think I might draw the mouth in there like that and have its tongue sticking out. And then its eyes, the Pokemon eyes were kind of like this, if I remember. And then they had like I mean, all right, like it's not the worst thing I've ever drawn, right? Yeah, we're gonna call that seal, right? Seal. Look at that, we did one already. That was fast. Hitmonlee. So I'm gonna do the first gen Pokemon, one on each side, and then I'll do the second gen Pokemon on like the bottom other corner of the page. So we'll do Hitmonlee over here. Hitmonlee I actually do remember fairly well because I loved Hitmonlee. So Hitmonlee is a Pokemon that specializes in fighting and specializes in kicks. So I'm going to try to draw it performing some form of kick. So we're going to have his body here, but then we're going to have his foot like in perspective right here, and then his other foot will be down because his body will be turned. So his eyes will be here kind of facing away from us. And he doesn't have any hands because Hitmonchan, the punching Pokemon, had hands, I think. Not positive, but I think. So we're gonna try. I think I remember, I mean, Hitmonlee I think is like a really blobby type Pokemon. So, and then his legs kind of had this like texture to them. So I'm gonna just draw this up here, and then this will be his like face. And this will be how his body kind of connects, and then his feet. I think he had like two kind of claw-like things. So I'm gonna try to depict that here. I don't really remember how those looked, but I think then the rest of it, yeah, that'll work. And then his legs kind of come down. All right, well, it's kind of too high, but maybe we can fix that. Hang on. Maybe we can just end his body sooner and make him a little bit taller. Is that how that works? I don't really know. But that's what we're gonna try. So yeah, we got that. And then, oh, these pencils don't really erase as well as I thought. That one erased great. Why does this one not erase? That's okay. We'll deal with it. So then, yeah, he had really long legs because that was what he did, is kick. And I'm really screwing up these little doodads here. But let's just call that good. And then he'll have his little claw doodad, and then his little claw doodad. And then his feet. I don't know if I'm just imagining the claw doodads. Like, we'll find out when we look at the actual, what actually Hitmonlee looks like. But then I think so his face would just be here. And I don't know what shape his eyes were, but I think that he was like a more angry looking Pokemon. So I think his eyes would be more like this. I'm sorry. His eye wouldn't, if he's kicking in front of him, his eye probably wouldn't be there. This eye would be here, and this eye would be something like that. I don't know. I feel like that's got to be sort of close, right? Hitmonlee. Here we go. Hitmonlee. Cool. 2 down. 2 to go. So next is Entei. Now Entei, I remember fairly well because he was in one of the movies. And so, while I don't know if I ever had an Entei in the game, I think I vaguely remember what he looks like. He's like a big, gruff-looking lion dude. The question is, can I draw him? Because he's a little bit more complicated than a seal or a Hitmonlee. So I'm gonna try to draw his head up here, and then he's got like a big chest and like the legs, and then his paw, which we'll try to figure that guy out. And then his body would arc up, and then he'd have his haunches, and then this would come down, and then this would come somewhere. And then I think he had like long flowing tails, kind of like his mane, because he has got a long like flowing mane type thing going on, I think. And then I think it actually like comes down to kind of frame his face, because that was like kind of like the cool thing about him, is that he had a lot of hair basically. And then I think he even had a beard, actually. I'm pretty sure Entei kind of has like a weird beard looking thing. So there's that. And then he needs kind of more of like a lion's muzzle here. Honestly, he's just going to kind of look like a lion. Like, that's what we're drawing here. I don't know if it actually looks like what Entei looks like or not, but we're gonna go with this. I don't think this is gonna be too bad if we just try that. What I don't know is how to like add in the other legs here. So then this leg would be here. Clearly, I don't draw felines very often, so I don't know. Sure, let's just run with it. So yeah. Entei, what would his eyes look like? Maybe more like this? And then he needs a nose. But I feel like, see, I don't remember. Maybe he doesn't have this facial structure. I don't remember. We'll find out again. Does he have eyebrows? Like, because how do you incorporate the beard then? Because I'm pretty sure he has a beard. I don't know. And I don't even remember like what moves Entei has, or like what type he is. If he's, I think he's a fire type, but I don't know. And because like these little tendril strand thingies, I think are like all different colors. So like they're red and yellow and everything. So we'll get into that with the coloring section. But I'm pretty sure that's the case. So we're just gonna leave it kind of like that, and then when I do the coloring, we'll try to add those in there. So as far as his toes, and then you can use it all the way just back. There goes my fire. And the last two steps like there. That's gonna be it, guys. No clue. No clue. All right, and on to number 4, which is Murkrow. So Murkrow is another Pokemon that I remember pretty well because he wears a hat. And so I'm gonna try to draw this because I think, okay, well, black might not be the right color because I think he's actually like a blue color, but we're gonna try this. So he wears a hat. Which I believe is kind of shaped like one of those detective type hats. I don't know if that's actually what you'd call that, but I believe he wears a hat kind of like that. And then I'm going to try to draw him. So he's got obviously it's a bird. He's got a beak. But it's like a long beak, and it's like a yellow beak. So then I think his eye would come up like that, and this eye, something like that. I don't know. And then this has to come up. And then I kind of wanted to do like so that his feathers were like holding the hat. But that looks backwards to me. So I'm not really sure how that'll look, but that's okay. So then his body, I think he might have it like a tail that comes up kind of like this, and then we're just gonna pretend that this wing is something. And then he'd have his other wing, which would be here. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of close. And then he'd have his little legs. I don't really know how to draw bird legs, clearly, so there you have it. Murkrow, kind of. Actually, wait, let's try to... Well, that couldn't look worse if it tried. Ta-da! Alright, let's slap some paint on these puppies. Okay, so I thought it would be fun while I go through the painting portion of the video to talk about each of the Pokemon that I drew and where I deviated from the original concept art. So Seal, as you can see on the right there, has a horn that I completely neglected to include in my design. I completely forgot. I do appreciate the fact that I captured the derpy expression adequately, in my opinion. I think that my Seal looks pretty much just as derpy as the original. Unfortunately, I also missed the tusks that Seal has. So overall, I don't think it was a terrible design. I also wanted to comment that on the coloring portion, I used blues and grays, whereas the original design was pretty much completely white. I think I was trying to combine Seal and Sfeel, who is the circular other Seal Pokemon, either in the second or third generation, whatever generation he's in. So that was where I deviated there, but overall, not mad at how Seal came out. Entei, on the other hand, is a completely different story. I don't know where in my head I got the idea that he had like longer tendrils for his hair. Clearly I forgot about like the mustache type design of his muzzle and then all of the like little gray embellishments that he has, but I would have sworn that Entei had those tendrils. So I'm really confused where my mindset captured that. Like I said, I think that Entei featured in one of the Pokemon videos or movies, and so I thought that I had a decent grasp of what Entei looked like. I just knew that I was not necessarily good at drawing like feline figures, but as it turns out, I clearly could not remember what an Entei looked like. So this was my attempt. It didn't work out exactly right, but I do think that it was still a fun design. Like I said, I don't think I ever had an Entei in the games, and so perhaps I just never used him as a Pokemon, so I didn't, see him as much. I started off with the blue version of Pokemon, and then I moved to, I think it was silver and gold, and then I had the crystal version, and then there was like a revamp of red and blue, so I got the revamped red version, and then there was a version for the Nintendo DS that I had, but I can't remember what like color it was as far as the version name. Maybe Emerald, Sapphire? No, because Emerald would go with like, Emerald I think was the revamped Ruby and Sapphire. But regardless, those were kind of like the breakdown of the versions that I had. Obviously the ones that I remembered really quickly are the ones that I remember pretty well. Speaking of remembering pretty well, this Hitmonlee I was pretty happy with, but then when I looked at the actual Pokemon, I was so mad to find out that Hitmonlee does in fact have hands. So I think that my design was like really true to Hitmonlee. Unfortunately, I just forgot that he did in fact have arms and hands, which although he was like the kick central Pokemon, I guess it makes sense that both Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan would both have hands and feet, but I couldn't remember that. Other than that, I think that, as far as the painting goes, I had all of the more important elements of Hitmonlee captured in my design, so I was actually pretty happy with how Hitmonlee came out. He was definitely my personal favorite of the 4 designs. Unfortunately, then we go to Murkrow, and I was so mad again to find out that Murkrow has such like a poofy tail and that his hat has 3 prongs instead of 2. Now you could argue that with like the way his head is turning, you might not be able to see all 3 of them, but honestly, we know that that's just me making an excuse for my poor remembrance of this Pokemon, and so I would say, that's just the way that the memory works. Murkrow, I think, was a pretty prominent Pokemon in the show, and so that's why he kind of stood out in my brain more. I can't remember having a Murkrow in the game for terribly long, or having it be one of my like primary Pokemon. I had a lot of Pokemon that like I would just keep using the same 6 Pokemon once I got like a set of them that worked pretty well, and then I would never build up any of my other Pokemon. And so often in the games I would get to like the final 5 people. I don't remember what they were called, but I would get to like the last people and have to battle them, and I wouldn't have Pokemon built up to their level like that would work well enough against their Pokemon. So then inevitably I would lose, and I'd have to like go back and build up specific Pokemon that I had caught but never built up so that I could fight these people at the end. That was just how the Pokemon games always seemed to work for me. Is I would get right up to the end, be fine, and then I'd have to like go back and do a bunch of work to try to build up the rest of my Pokemon. So I would love to hear if you had a similar Pokemon experience growing up. Were you interested in the games? Did you play them? Which ones did you have? Who were your favorite Pokemon? Did you find that you also just got to this point where you were struggling at the end? And just curious to know, because it's kind of been a really fun experience just like going back through memory lane and remembering all of these things. At this point, I am just inking. Unfortunately, I learned that my Faber-Castell pens do not work well over gouache. That was a definite learning throughout this process, and if I like went back and did it again, I might use like a Posca pen or something like a more paint-based marker instead of the Faber-Castell Pitt pens. But there you have it, my final results. I really enjoyed this process. I think this was so much fun, and I would highly recommend you try this out either with Pokemon or another like nostalgic type thing. I really enjoyed this, and I do think that I will go back and try it again with some Generation 3 Pokemon, because why not? I enjoyed this process, and so I think I will do it again.